Give us just a sec. We are hopping on, and bear with us
Hello,
for
everyone.
a minute. So we're just getting some things kind of done last minute. No worries, but I just wanted to say hey and hey. Okay, hey Jamie, hey Tracy. I see some of you guys. Sometimes you can see each other's chats, but sometimes you can't. So, anyways, I'll just kind of get started before Kassandra Kuehl takes over completely. And so what today's webinar is about, well, first and foremost, if you don't know who the heck I am and you're like, how did I find my way onto here? Most of you guys know who I am because you're in my community, but just in case, I'm Victoria Barrios. I have done a lot of different things, whether that is from like the Thriving with the Tic Disorder online summit or the one that was about the relationships community. But anyways, I am a coach and I do a lot of different fun, fantastic things, but my passion is to really help people have transformational breakthrough in their lives and really understand how to reach helping big professionals dietary fitness goals. There's a lot that goes under that umbrella, but you guys know Kassandra and I connected through, like you guys know who Sherry Edwards is. We connected through like a back end.
Hey, Victoria.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your mic is super staticky. You might just want to hop onto your computer mic.
Is that better?
Oh my, welcome to the Earth dimension. I can hear you and it's not scratchy.
I'm not sure why my mic's not working because it's a super good mic. So anyways, I apologize. So we'll just scratch all that. I just want to say, let's just hop on in. I want to give Kassandra Kuehl the most time that she possibly can have for this webinar. I apologize for the scratchiness at the beginning, tech stuff. And so Kassandra, why don't you go ahead and just introduce who you are, just like what you're passionate about, share a little bit of your story, and then we'll go from there. And then you can start sharing whenever you're comfortable with your slides and stuff.
Awesome. So I am Kassandra. Thank you so much, Victoria, for having me on today. So I live and reside in lovely, beautiful Wayzata, Minnesota. So I'm in the northern region. And up above, you can see BE. And behind me, I have and operated a organic salon and spa for over 20 years. And within that business, I have formulated health and beauty products for about 15 years. And I came into CBD about, I would say, probably about 3 years ago.
Ooh. Okay.
And your computer, I don't know if it's my computer, but it's kind of showing all different.
You're fine.
Okay. So basically, I'm here to share what I know about CBD. And so prior to coming into CBD land, I had a few clients that had severe autoimmune diseases and epilepsy. And I have a background in functional medicine. So I'm very, very well aware of anecdotal-based plant medicine efficacy and making sure that the research is there to validate what we're finding. And so CBD now, 3 years later, is very much the rage. It is everywhere. I think even to the nth degree of it's kind of annoying for many because they do see it everywhere. But it's a great thing, and we're breaking the threshold of how beneficial plant medicine really is. And so I'm so excited to share, basically we're going to go through a slide deck that's going to really open up the salient points of what we should know about phytocannabinoids, CBD, and this beautiful plant. But by the time you end up walking away from this webinar, I want you to be very self-empowered by not only understanding the hemp plant and CBD, but very self-empowered about understanding how it works with the body, the mind-body connection, and the endocannabinoid system in general. Because unless we understand really what the plant is, what it's capable of, and our unique endocannabinoid, what we call endocannabinoid tone, then really it's just another supplement on the market. And it's to be empowering you on how to utilize it, plant medicine, and personalize it for yourself. So if we want to, I can go ahead and hop in. You guys can just let me know. I'm just going to go ahead and play on my keynote. This is fun for me because this is the first time I've been able to give a presentation on Keynote. Lovely Apple. So if Victoria, if you just want to confirm for me that the slideshow is sharing and everybody can see it, that would be great. And then you can go ahead and turn my mic off if it's not.
There we go. It is. Yep, got it. Got the first slide.
Awesome. And my mic's turned off and everybody can see the slideshow?
Everybody can see you.
My camera's off.
No, you have to turn your own mic off. Hit settings and then
You mean my camera?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will go in.
Here we go.
Turn off my camera. And back into the slides.
There we go.
Wonderful. All righty, gang. So let's get started. So we're going to be talking about CBD.
Kassandra, no one is able to see it. So what we're going to have to do is go back to where you were. Let's see. Here we go. Got it. Okay. There. You guys can see it, right? Let me get a confirmation from the audience. Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Wonderful. All right. So back to balance, and you understand that a little bit more as we go through these slides. But we're talking about CBD and the endocannabinoid system. So again, I produce my own line of CBD products, and pretty much I'm in the research every day. And so really what we're talking about is really the health and the homeostasis of the natural endocannabinoid system. And so just like our endocrine, our immune and digestive system, every mammal has an endocannabinoid system. And I may call it ECS for short through this presentation. But it's also known as the master controller. So we make our own endocannabinoids in our body, but the problem is when left unsupported, we basically have an endocannabinoid deficiency. And so what we're learning in science is that when it's left unsupported, basically modern day stress leads to the anxiety, the hot flashes, the pain, autoimmune diseases, a lot of different digestive disorders. So really what we're learning, since it is the master controller, this is the ticket to getting everything else on board and working efficiently. And we actually have more receptors for cannabinoids in our body than any other receptor in the body, which makes up this endocannabinoid system. And really, this is just the beginning. And so I really want to make sure that we all understand this industry is just starting and is just on the tipping point of moving in the right direction with research. Because when the endocannabinoid system was discovered, which was by Raphael Mechoulam, it was back in 1992. So it's really, really quite new to the medical industry in particular. So when we talk about this,
I'm sorry, Kassandra. Apparently people are saying that the slides aren't fully showing, but it is on my end. What are you seeing on your end?
I see it. Yep.
Yeah, me too.
So is it cut off or is it just too big or maybe a little bit more feedback?
There we go. Okay, hold on, you guys. What does that look like? Because I know you can see me. I see the slides now. All right, you can go ahead and keep going.
Super. All right. So going back, this is a really, really good, simple visual
Jump in real quick.
of
I have a
how
question.
we
I know a lot of people are
each
going
have
to
an
be
individual
asking you or
endocannabinoid
me
tone.
this.
So on the
So can you
homeostatic
go back
side
to
on the
that
right,
previous
we're
slide?
balanced. All of these
The
systems
big
are in
6.
check.
Okay.
And then
So
in
with
distress, these are the
Cassandra,
systems that go
are these
away.
guys like
So this is just
what
a
you're
really nice
saying is
visual
that
of,
because
you know,
I
the
understand, but
endocannabinoid system
I'm
regulates
still
all
learning
of these different systems.
like myself, and so with
So
the
the main
cannabinoids, then these are the
players of the
subclasses that are the ones
endocannabinoid
that are
system.
important to pay
So
attention
they're
to.
going to be the receptors,
However, do all
endocannabinoids,
of
and
these,
this
like you said, it
enzyme
does
called
not cause number 3 does not
FAAH.
cause like
So
the
these are kind of the
psychotropic
key
effects.
areas that
But
it
what
works
about the
within the body.
remaining? So
So we have
you know
the
what I'm saying? Is THC the
endocannabinoids,
only one that we
the
know of
receptors, and the
to cause those
enzymes.
effects, and
So
then
the
2 through
endocannabinoid
6 can
system
be
is
utilized for
found in the
specific needs, such
central
as like any
peripheral
like
nervous
health
systems,
conditions
and it's
and
a
things
very
like that. Because if
complex
I'm looking at
network.
this
And
correctly,
so it
number 3,
hosts
I believe
on
would
the
be
left,
studied
starting with
really
the
well for people
CB1
that
and
are, if
CB2
those of you that are
receptors.
watching that have
And
someone
the
with like Tourette syndrome,
endogenous
like obviously
endocannabinoids
I
is
don't know all the
basically
science
what
behind that
functions
in
similar to what
particular.
we use
So,
with
or even number 5. So
phytocannabinoids,
these
which
are
is
just my questions off
CBD,
the top of my
and on
head.
the right, the enzymes that both create and break down those cannabinoids within the body.
Yeah.
So on the left side, we're going to talk about the receptors, and these receptors, the CB1 specifically, are found in the brain and in the spinal cord. And so they're in the central nervous system. And what the important part about the CB2 receptors is to know that they're found in the peripheral nervous system. So they're in our immune system, and they basically regulate our inflammation responses. And so because they're so concentrated all over the body, like all over the body, they're lining our stomach lining, our skin, that stimulating these doesn't give you the euphoria or the high in the brain. And they're also very powerful because they touch all aspects of the body. So when we look at the endocannabinoids, we create our own endocannabinoids. And so the anandamide and AG2 are these 2 endocannabinoids.
Okay.
And we actually make them from our own fatty acids. And so if we're not getting enough fatty acids in our diet, specifically, the EPA, DHA, more omega-3 than 6, preferably, we're putting our endocannabinoid system and our health at risk. So just another reason why we should make sure that we're getting supple amounts of fatty acids in our diet, and making sure that we can then turn them over to making our own endocannabinoids.
And then super helpful.
Now,
and then just to reiterate,
pesky enzymes
cannabinoids
are really
in and of
critical
themselves,
in our health
can you
for
just
many
explain,
reasons.
like in layman's
But
terms,
these
just
enzymes
what they are for
basically
people that
go
are
in, and they
probably
almost
still
like
confused
little,
about what a cannabinoid
they're almost like
technically
little
is? I know it
Pac-Man.
makes up,
So what happens is our
like
body has a
can
stress
be what
response.
is in the plant
the
in and of
body
itself. But
will
can you just give
innately
us
just
maybe
create
like
these
a
enzymes.
short version of
and
that?
These enzymes go in and they're Pac-Man and eat up all of our own endocannabinoids. And so when the stress iron goes off, all these enzymes eat up our endocannabinoids, and that's why we're using and see a attribute to using CBD. And so the CBD basically will go into the body. And what we used to think is that
Cool. All right, that sounds good. I want to make sure that
them, but they actually
we get
just
to as much as we can in the next
the
half hour.
enzymes
So
and
I feel like that
them,
really helped a lot. And
from
I
being able
just want
to
to make sure that
affect
you
the
are
endocannabinoid
touching
system,
on the things you
depleting
really want
us.
to touch on too.
So just another quick
do
visual,
that. So I'll stop
CB1
asking questions
receptor.
for the moment.
So you can kind of see where these all kind of have impact on the body. And
nope,
you can see
I'm just
on the left-hand
excited
side,
to
THC
hear about
actually
like
binds
the
in
next
that
parts of
receptor.
how
And that's why we
what
get that
CBD,
euphoria,
what you suggest, how we
those
utilize
different
it, and then
feelings when we're
dosing,
actually
because I
have
feel like
THC in
those
a
will be the
product.
best ways for
And
people to
CBD,
really
you can see,
understand
is
so
an
that you
antagonist
can
here
answer
on the
questions
left-hand
too,
side,
because you guys
and
offer
it
such
kicks
great
out
products.
THC, and it will, basically block that receptor, but it does have an impact. It reacts with the receptor itself, and it has the impact over all of these different areas on that right-hand side. Now, the 3 cannabinoids. So this is where it can get really confusing. And so I want to talk about the endocannabinoids, which again are made from our fatty acids, and they're produced naturally. So we've just talked about our endogenous endocannabinoids, which we make gracefully. We also have phytocannabinoids, and that's what we're going to be talking about today as far as our plant medicine. And that's found in the plant resins of cannabis and hemp. Now, understand that hemp and cannabis are two in one of the same thing. We can talk about that a little bit later. Synthetic cannabinoids are going to be FDA approved, artificially manufactured. So Epidiolex is a pharmaceutical product that they put on the market. So to give you some insight on how much the Epidiolex costs, I have a client who has a daughter with epilepsy. And to get Molly on the Epidiolex for her epilepsy, I think it cost her around the tune of $32,000 to $38,000 per year. In contrast to what you can do with natural phytocannabinoids to help this beautiful little body carry on. But Epidiolex, I will give it its merit for some people that cannot afford plant medicine on the market or don't want to mess with it or have to get it through their doctor. This is a really nice solution. So it's manufactured to have the effect like natural phytocannabinoids do in the body. Does that make sense? So the three spectrums of cannabis. So we have three different basic products that you can look at on the market. And this is going to be starting on the left, full spectrum. So this is what we see that contains the 0.03 THC. It also has cannabinoids, flavonoids, terpenes, and fatty acids. So then if we move into the broad spectrum, it has the same thing that the full spectrum does, but it has 0 THC. So we basically squeeze out and double test that all the THC has been removed, but you still have the cannabinoids, the minor cannabinoids, fatty acids, terpenes. And then the isolate contains 0 THC and it's isolated. And it is basically a mono compound. And why would we do an isolate? Well, isolate can be used in food and edibles where you maybe don't need the full spectrum or broad spectrum. It can also be put into topical products where sometimes it may not be needed to have a full spectrum. And Ethan Russo states it's not as beneficial as broad or full spectrum. And I think we all, as health and healthy consumers, that we can understand the difference between isolated nutrients and something that is a whole food, and how well the body works with something as a whole plant versus trying to grab and little isolates of it and shuffle it where it needs to go. So there's really a symbiotic relationship with the body. So something that's important to understand about the receptor site communication with CBD, because there's a lot of confusion on the market, and they talk a lot about the lock and key. And is it the right door? So THC binds to CB1 receptors and CB2, and CBD binds to CB1 and CB2 receptors, and it has very little binding effect. It's an antagonist to THC on that earlier photo. And as an antagonist, CBD can help your body both preserve your own endocannabinoids, and it also helps then in relation to preserving them, it increases your levels of anandamide and 2-AG, and those are our natural endocannabinoids, which then dampens your perception of pain and other illnesses and symptoms. So remember, as long as we have our own endocannabinoids at a healthy level, all of these other ailments are then reduced. And CBD does not get you high. So let's talk a little bit about the difference. What is THC, CBD, how the plant genetics work. And this is really important to understand where your medicine comes from. So there are over 80 plus, and now from what I know, I think 100 plus cannabinoids, 200 terpenes, and numerous flavonoids in the cannabis flower. And the two most well-known are CBD and THC. And this is mostly because these are highest strains found in the hemp and marijuana plant. And then the cannabinoids are then separated into subclasses. So I'll get to that in a second. But you'll see on the left-hand side, what we really want to be aware of is that we have hemp seed oil and hemp-based CBD oil or cannabidiol. And both hemp and marijuana come from the cannabis plant. And the way I like to explain is that imagine like an heirloom tomato. It kind of starts at this mother heirloom tomato, and then all of these farmers come in and they make different variations of the tomato. And so you get different kinds and different flavors and different sizes. The same is true for breeding different hemp plants. And so hemp CD plants are farmed for less than 0.03% THC. And the marijuana plants have higher levels of THC. So you can get CBD from both hemp and marijuana. And the gray line becomes when producers and farmers are then trying to make a CBD product out of a marijuana derived CBD, because they're going to be very, very high. And so what's happening is they're taking basically the marijuana plant, and then they just dilute with different carrier oils so that they can test it and vary it that they have less than 0.003 THC, which is not a good way to formulate a CBD product. So basically, CBD can be either hemp or marijuana derived. So the cannabinoids then are separated into these subclasses, and it all starts with one basic acid, which is CBDA. And then how it turns into CBD or THC or CBG and all these different minor cannabinoids, in which we call the big six, is that it actually will either age, it can be heated, and that's how it then turns into all these different subsets of minor cannabinoids. So THC is known to reduce pain, ease nausea, and vomiting. THC has many, many benefits for cancer as well. CBD reduces inflammation and anxiety. CBN is our next product that we are going to be producing with Evoke, which is a high CBN product, is one step away from actually THC. And it becomes non-psychotropic, but it's beautiful because it sedates you, it relaxes you, it even can stimulate bone cell growth, as well as it does with CBG as well. And then THCV and CBC. So these are all the minor cannabinoids found at lower percentages in the hemp plant. And the next, yeah, sure thing. Yeah, so that's a really, really good question. So this is where it gets really confusing. I mean, if you look at the farm bill and we look at THC, just put THC over to the corner. The way we found that we wanted to mandate that it had 0.3% THC is the government body got together and said, this is the rule. If you go over to Europe, it's 0.6, because we really see the value of having THC in a product because it does have attributes for binding capabilities. But the rest of the minor cannabinoids are not known to be psychotropic and carry heavy value sets themselves for the different variants on what they bring to the table. So you can see all these different layers and levels and how it helps with all these different things. And so having something like a broad spectrum with these different minor cannabinoids are very beneficial because you can stretch further into the endocannabinoid system and helping it on all these different variants. So if your question is, will these others have a chance of making you high, or they don't? To as far as the psychotropic, from my knowledge, THC, the delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol is the only that gives you that CB1 receptor. Now, that doesn't mean that it may not bind to receptors, but from what we know right now, that is where you're going to get the psychotropic effect. Yeah. So cannabinoids. And so if we look at these top six, cannabinoids are they're basically the active component of the hemp plant that gives it all of these health attributes. So let's maybe look at it with the word phyto before it. So we have to understand the 2AG and the anandamide, which we call the bliss molecule because it binds to that CB1 receptor and gets us high. Those are endocannabinoids that we make ourselves. These other, let's call them phytocannabinoids, because this is what we have found in the hemp and marijuana plant. So these are all the goodies, the plant nutrients, the plant medicine that helps go in and attach to our body and work symbiotically with our body. So phytocannabinoids are found in the hemp plant. And mind you, phytocannabinoids can also be found in other nutrients. So, for instance, we have phytocannabinoids that help with our endocannabinoid system found in chocolate. It also can be found in, other foods. And so, CBD and all of these minor cannabinoids, they're phytocannabinoids, but they're not only found in the hemp plant. We're also finding them in other attributes as well. Hops is also another one. So hops can also be somewhat of a phytocannabinoid. But just speaking about the hemp plant, these are the minor cannabinoids that we know of. Oh, no, that's all good. Those are really good questions. Clarity is good. Hello, terpenes. So, this is the next exciting movement in the hemp world. So, move over cannabinoids, hello, terpenes. And so, terpenes are organic compounds that play an important role in the aromatic, the flavors, and the natural defense of many plants. So, terpenes, let's call them for ease of understanding, let's call them essential oils because these are the actual compounds that we find also in essential oils. So plants protect themselves by offshooting these different aromas to protect themselves from different insects, which makes them very fortified and powerful in self-protection, but also we use that same for self-protection in the body. And they can affect the intensity and duration of certain effects of cannabinoids. And they also work well in the endocannabinoid system with the cannabinoids, or let's talk about phytocannabinoids, to potentially enhance their therapeutic effect. So, going back to Ethan Russo, it's what he coined as the entourage effect. I also like the word ensemble. And so basically, when we take that full or that broad spectrum, we're also pulling out these natural terpenes. It's a part of the hemp plant. And that's one big variant of that really helps the phytocannabinoids work better and make them 10x in the body. And we've even found that some terpenes like beta caryophyllene directly binds to our CB receptors. And so this really gives us hope as far as, precision products in the future. So if we look at the different types, limonene, you're going to find that in lemon. And this is really good in, used in products that are going to give you the antidepressant effects, anti-inflammatory, uplifting. Linalool, you would find that in lavender. It's going to make you relaxed, help with insomnia, depression. And peonine, which would be in a pine, gives you that alertness. It's really great for lungs and making sure that you get your lungs strong if you've been sick. It also has basic neuroendocrine or neurochemical benefits for Alzheimer's. And then here are some more, and specifically, I'm kind of naming out these because these are the specific terpenes that we utilize in our products that I have found have been the most beneficial. So you can kind of see all the different attributes of all of these different terpenes, which again are kind of like essential oils. So how do we use these terpenes, the phytocannabinoids? Where are we going? How can we use them today in our everyday life and get the most personalized, results with them? So one thing that we really want to remember is dosing, and that CBD, cannabis, THC, all of these different phytocannabinoids, they have what they call a biphasic effect. And so cannabinoids, and we're taking CBD oil, they have a sweet spot. And so you can overdose and you can underdose. And that's why everybody has to really try the products on their own and understand that you have a very specific endocannabinoid tone that you're going to have to play around with. So if you get too much, there's really nothing dangerous about that. There are no really side effects, but you may get a little bit sleepy. And then the next thing we want to focus on when you're purchasing is understanding the bioavailability. And this is one big piece of it, is that the first pass metabolism and absorption rate is, you can see, goes through the body. Let's say you swallow it, you bring it in, it's going to go down the chambers, into the gut, and in through the liver. But we have to remember the liver is there to filter. And so what we don't get absorbed in the body before it gets to the liver is lost. And so I've heard ranges from anywhere from, you're only getting between 10 and 30% of your product if it's not taken in the best application. So the administration methods that skip this first pass metabolism, which has all of those enzymes as well that eat up all the phytocannabinoids, can be a topical or a sublingual, and even vaping. And then that leads to the greater uptake and better results. So overall, endocannabinoid system and key benefits, these are the top known. Going down all of these different attributes, we can probably say that the anti-inflammatory benefits, the relaxing benefits, are all really noted for CBD. And then CBG, going back to the minor cannabinoids, we're seeing great benefits with CBD and CBG for women and bone health and bone reproduction. And this is really huge for the industry, because this is a major epidemic for women that are getting older. Obviously, mental health and all of these other attributes. So what I really love about the CBD benefits is the neuroprotection. And if we really think about the epidemic with, a lot of mental health as well as autoimmune, things that so well, Victoria, is the neuroprotection and the healing bridge of CBD for brain and neuro disease. And so all of these phytocannabinoids and the elements of the endocannabinoid system are highly expressed in our brain circuitry. It's the mind-body connection. And they have a bidirectional interaction with dopamine, glutamine, and GABA signaling systems. And so in conclusion, cannabinoids have been shown to be a neuroprotective agent in respect to their ability to suppress exotoxicity. Okay, so this goes to our glutamate expression in the brain and the body, which brings an epileptic seizure, and all of these other ADHD, all of these other kind of mind issues that we're dealing with in society today, and oxidative injury that causes over time the degeneration. So anxiety, ADHD, neural stress signaling impact. So on the left, we've got GABA and we've got glutamate. these blessing little neurochemicals. GABA is going to act like a brake in your car. It's going to inhibit the nervous system, give you more calm. And glutamate is going to be your motivation center. It's a good thing. We need it. It's going to give us stimulation of the nervous system and excite the body. And so supple amounts of anandamide, now going back to remember our own endocannabinoids, help balance import these neurotransmitters. So GABA glutamate, it's going to calm the calm and excitatory system, serotonin and dopamine, which helps the nerve cells communicate better, and oxytocin and vasopressin. Now, this is a really, really awesome neurochemical that we're really learning the importance of more than ever. And this is basically our love and connection neurochemical. So if we don't get oxytocin, we're going to be very depressed. We feel disconnected from people, as well as vasopressin is basically kind of the couple neurohormone that makes us all feel connected and loved. And that keeps us in balance. Is there any questions on those, Victoria? For sure. Awesome. So, real quick, anxiety and panic attacks. Hello, men and women. Who hasn't felt this? Serotonin receptor, again, the reuptake inhibitors. It's known that CBD actually may be more effective and faster than these SSRIs. And so, that is a great, great attribute for the many people that are on antidepressants. So, how does CBD relieve muscle pain? It goes basically in, and we have pro inflammatory cytokines in the body. And CBD is able to decrease the inflammation, in which it goes in and reduces the pain and helps to ease the body and mind naturally. And so it's great because it not only relaxes you, but it brings down the consequence of inflammation and pain. And so how I like to explain it is that basically the CBD goes in between these receptor sites and says, hey, 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 stop, chill out, and becomes the intermediary. And then just a little bit about gut dysbiosis. And so CBD is being known to help with colitis, and it helps with the hypermotility, abnormal loose stools. And then it also helps with the receptors outside of the endocannabinoid system, and helps with IBS. And so we also have to remember the blood brain connection and how well that works together, and why CBD
Can I ask you a quick
also
question
is an
on that?
attribute.
Those
And then with sleep,
so
poor sleep
like the
increases
first
all of
two
these
labels,
other
let's say the
issues
one
of
that has the
chronic
phytocannabinoid
conditions.
and then the hemp
And
extract,
CBD
are
not
people
only can
would
alleviate
those be
symptoms,
examples
but it
of bottles
also
that people might
activates those
find even
serotonin
at reputable
receptors in the
places
brain.
that
So it
say
helps you calm
CBD on the
down,
front, but when
less
they
anxiety
over,
before we go to sleep, slow
oh,
down the brain, and it
yeah,
actually
yeah,
prolongs our sleep REM periods, leading to more rest night to night, and only compounds to a better and healthy body for recovery.
mm-hmm.
So the three most common ways to take CBD are going to be tinctures, sprays, and tonics, inhalation through
Right.
vapes, and topically through balms, lotions, creams, and sprays. And so this is just a
Mm-hmm.
visual of the different applications and how long they last, and the effects of them. And so most commonly on the market right now is CBD oil and topicals and capsules.
Yeah,
So tinctures, we have 4 different tinctures with our line. We have a 3, 5, 1000, and 2000 nano. And these are the most widely used.
got
And
it.
they provide a very quick response within the body by bypassing what we just talked about with the first pass metabolism. And so you want to really, when you're taking a tincture, let it sit in your mouth for at least 30 to 60 seconds so it gets in that mucosal membrane so that you can really get all of your medicine. And you'll feel the effects between 5 and 20 minutes, and tends to last a half-life of between 2 and 4 hours. And it can be added to food or beverages. I personally don't recommend it. I want all of my medicine and I want it all at once. If you want to do CBD in food and beverages, there's powders and water soluble that you can add to those. And topical CBD, is going to be assisting the CV2 receptors that we have in the skin. And we actually, CBD helps regulate over 1,000 genetics in the body, but 165 of them are in the skin. So they're really, really great at stress adaptation for skin, helps with environmental inflammation, such as acne, sensitivities, psoriasis, eczema, and then the microbiome of the skin, keeping it healthy and balanced. Dosing. So I wish I could give you a very, very concrete answer, but nobody can. And if anybody does, you have to be very careful because the endocannabinoid system and your tone varies at all times of the day. And so there is no governing body that gives you a dose. And the results are based on your weight, metabolism, your age, if you're a good methylator, good detoxifier, all of these things. And so it's unique to you. Generally, I always tell clients start off with 10 milligrams per dose. And so that would be 10 milligrams
Is there
per
any way you can
milliliter if you're taking
is that on your Instagram? Because it was kind of hard to hear or
capsule.
see.
You want to
So
get at
can
least
people
10.
find that
generally take
video in
15 and
particular? Is that
20
your
per
Evoke
dose.
account?
And so you'll have to really kind of play around with it and understand your own threshold and just start low and then go from there because a lot of people overdose. How to read a label. So the amount of
You can
what we
pop
want to
it in
remember
the
here is
chat
the amount of
box.
active CBD. So the total per bottle and per serving and the exact amount of active cannabidiol. So here's 3 different profiles that will help it make a little bit more sense. So this label on the left, you can see phytocannabinoid hemp oil. And phytocannabinoids encompass, like we talked about, over 100 different
so
cannabinoids
I wanted
made by
to
hemp.
jump on and
So
say
it might
thank
be
you.
CBD,
and so you guys really
but you don't know.
What I
It's
did
just
was I dropped
hemp
that
oil.
link into
And then
the chat
this
box,
one
and then
says hemp extract,
everyone that's watching this now who's going to catch the replay
So an
will be
extract can
able
be
to
very, very
get that
concentrated
link.
different chemicals,
The 2
and
things
you
that
never
she
know really
mentioned
what you're fully
is
getting.
the
So is it
downloads.
CBD
So
or
there'll be like,
what
if
is
you have a
it?
lot of questions about just,
And then-
what she kind of talked about, but maybe more in layman's terms, it's a really great file of like great information on it. Like, you did a really great guide. I really appreciate that, Kassandra. And then the second component is the discount that she mentioned is 20% off through midnight Central tonight, and then 10% off going
100%.
forward. So I popped that in the chat box, 100%. But you'll also get those in the email. So you're
So
like,
this is where it
if you're
gets
not
really confusing.
that, no
so that's
worries.
why I want to show the
And then
nuances
I had a
of the
couple
different,
questions
how they're different
before we hop
labels
off, and
how
I'm
you
sure that
just
others
never
will
really
have
know.
additional
extract
questions.
or
And
an
Tracy's
oil
already
doesn't
asking
tell
one.
me
She
what
said, if
it
I have
is,
friends or family with
because when
questions,
you're
can they
pulling a
contact
plant, it
either
has
of you?
many
Yes,
components in
Tracy,
it,
you
and you
should
need to
have
get
my
very,
email
very
directly,
specific.
and we can always reply to the emails that I
So
send
this
out, and then I
one,
can connect you
this
directly
product
with
says
Kassandra
25
too.
milligrams
But either way.
per.
And then, so what I
So you
wanted
can
to
see
ask you,
cannabidiol.
which I
It's
feel
saying
like
that
would
it's
be really
cannabidiol and it's hemp
helpful,
oil from the seed and
is
stock. So you can see how it separated hemp oil. So if you go back to these, hemp
what
extract,
about dosing
hemp
for
oil,
kids?
like
Because I
of
know
what?
like you've worked with that
And then this one
child, and I
says
know you've worked with
cannabidiol,
children.
25
But
milligrams,
what
and then 5
can
milligrams of
parents
hemp
do?
oil.
Is that, I couldn't
So
remember,
there's
is that
active
particularly in
cannabidiol
your
in there,
guide to get
25
started?
milligrams.
I know
Now,
you mentioned
if you
10
go to our
milligrams to
label,
start
you
small,
will see
but
very
so many
specifically
parents have
that
so
we
many
are
questions
100%
about it. And
compliant, and this
so
is
I
what we
wanted
want
to
to
get
look
your
for. At
expert
the top,
opinion on
it
that.
says per serving, 10 milligrams. How many servings per bottle? 30. It says your calorie count, your total fatty acids, and then organic hemp-derived cannabidiol, 300 milligrams in that bottle. And then underneath that, I'm then very specific. What kind of terpenes do we have? It's not on this, but if you looked on our box, I have all of our terpenes, and it's a citrus blend. And then I have all of my different carrier oils that help it get over the blood-brain barrier a lot more efficiently and sustain the product. If you find other ingredients and it just says MCT, that's okay. But understand that most products on the market are private label. Most products and most companies are going in, they're getting a farmer, and they're just making their own pretty marketing, and it'll say cannabidiol or hemp extract and MCT. Okay. And some will say hemp seed oil. Now, if you're using hemp seed oil in your product as a carrier, it's a big no-no. It goes rancid really, really fast. And it's very large molecularly. So it's going to get in the way of you actually soaking in your nutrients. So that's really important to understand, the difference between this this, and this, and how you
Mhm.
need to get really, really clear on what you're looking at. So CBD and medications, this is a big question, and it's something that we have to pay attention to. CBD is not intoxicating and it's non-addictive. Does it store in the body? Yes, it can. It does have a half-life and it can store in the body. So if you're taking a full spectrum, it can store in the body and you can fail a test. That's why we do broad spectrum and we do not use THC, because I have many professionals in the industry and a lot of health practitioners, and we just don't want to take the risk. CBD can potentially interact with many pharmaceuticals. And what it happens is that in the liver, we have the cytochrome P450 liver enzymes. These are the enzymes. If you take Tylenol, it's going to chew up the Tylenol, it's going to spit it out and go where it needs to go. And it also metabolizes CBD. So what happens is that the CBD and your pharmaceutical medication are going down the liver at the same time. It can either dilute and reduce the medication, or it can basically create more of it by blocking other enzymes, and then you get more of it. So, rule of thumb, if you're taking a medication, check with your doctor. And also, if you're going to take it with medications, for instance, it's a great to take with other medications because it helps the after effects of inflammation and damage to the body. Take it at least 2 hours away from your medication. And then specifically medications, the main rule of thumb is blood thinners, people that are epileptic and or pregnant. All right. So, buying tips in a very unregulated industry. It is the wild, wild west out there. I forgot to bring my cowgirl hat. I was going to bring that. You want to know, like we looked at with those formulas, is there anything else in the CBD? Oftentimes, reactions are not because of the CBD. It's actually poor quality hemp or additional additives. And does it contain terpenes, water, fillers, sweeteners? If it contains all these other things, you're diluting your medicine and you got to know what you're getting. Another note, terpenes are incredible for a product, but sometimes you can have a reaction because you have to look at terpenes because some of them are excitatory and some of them are relaxing, like uppers and downers. And if you basically get too much of one or the other, or they conflict with each other, that's why you can have a reaction. 70% of products we have found in research study on the market do not contain what is in the bottle. Never shop by price, because if you're shopping a 1,000 milligram online from one company and then you hop over and there's 100 or there are 1,000 milligrams in another company and it's $30 cheaper, you might want to question that. You got to go back to about us, who's the CEO, and all of the testing. Because you, again, hemp oil, hemp what? Active cannabidiol, active diols, and diols would be short for what other minor cannabinoids are in there. And then where is its source? Hopefully it's organic, preferably. And hemp is a remedial plant and it's a bioaccumulator. So it's beautiful for soaking up a lot of toxicity in the soil. And then is there a COA? So the COA is a certified certificate of analysis. And this is where you're going to find everything. You're going to find if there's any pesticides in the product, any other toxicity. You're going to find the right amounts and percentages of cannabinoids, which you're going to then see in that profile. This is not just to check if it's organic or if there's any toxicity in the soil or what have you. This is to get really specific. Well, how much CBD am I getting in the product? How many other minor cannabinoids are in the product? And this is fun for me to go into all of these different COAs because there's maybe 20% of CBD in the product and there's just a whole bunch of other gunk. So ours are very, very high precision products. We're loading 80 to 90% of active diols, and then we bring in precision terpenes, and every single batch is consistent. Every single bottle is consistent. So you know what you're getting and it's never fluctuating. So we really do artisanal research based on anecdotal data, physiological responses on studies with humans, and then long-term effects. And then, is it GMP certified lab and FDA? Now, a lot of people put GMP certified. Doesn't mean that they are. I would ask for an actual certificate of that as well, because that's a really big component of cleanliness. And then just real quick, this is a beautiful face. This is one of the first clients that I started working with our nano CBD, which is our 2000, but because of its molecular size and shape, it's actually equivalent to 12,000 milligrams per bottle. Now, nano, you want to be really careful about because many people put surfactants in with their nano CBD. So what happens is when it gets into the body, they separate and then they come back together. And so then they clump back together and you're not getting the nano that's in the bottle does not to react the way you want it in the body. And so there's a lot of different ways that are not ideal for nano. And we also can get an overload of nano that doesn't secrete from the body. And then it actually interacts with our GABA receptors, which is not good. So our nano is synchronized down through very, very, very precision process of basically vibration. And so what you get in the bottle goes in the body, and spreads and acts as it should. Nano product are for people that are high pain, high, really, really bad autoimmune diseases that need instant relief and epileptic. So this little girl had epileptic seizures, 16 seizures per day, and we got her down to about 2. And this mom is one happy mama. And I wanted to show you just real quick this, because if this doesn't kind of share, it's really incredible.
The best way to take it is put it under your tongue and rub it in your cheek. I think you're calmed down. So quickly. It was so bad. Did you guys get lunch? Are you hungry now? But I am.
So pretty incredible, right? Yep. Yeah. So you can find that on my beauty ecology at beauty ecology or evoke. And on this little slide here, this is the link. So if you want to go to this link, it's right. I can't because I can't like do it right now, but I will when we do questions. I'll grab it from my slides. All right, so let's heal better with the clean, calm, and connected CBD. This is where the goodies are. So this is basically an example of just some really, really well formulated very specific products that we have here at Evoke. We have the 300, which is basically a really nice baseline. This is for someone that wants to be consistent with their plant medicine, and it's going to give them that endocannabinoid tone, that support that they need. And you can see the beautiful ingredients that we have in that product, and it has a citrus and mint flavor. Now, all of our flavorings are done through the aromatic terpenes. If you find a product on the market that's grape or watermelon or, watermelon kush, those are going to be not natural. So 500 milligram, this is our beautiful broad spectrum. And this is our restorative tonic that's really great for autoimmune, anxiety, stress, and for kids. And this has all of the minor cannabinoids in it. And you can see down there CBD, CBC, CBN, CBDV, and CBG. And this has a really beautiful terpene blend. And the taste of this is going to be black cumin oil with a little bit of lime, very anti-inflammatory. And then the 1000 I use for my high pain clients, high anxiety, and insomnia clients. This is really good for anybody that just needs a little bit more push in the front end. And then you can always dial down once you get your endocannabinoid system back into a little bit more balance. And so this is going to be a CBD and CBG. And again, CBG is really, really phenomenal for extra anti-inflammatory and bone support. And then the 2000 nano is for that fast acting need of relief. The absorption is 6 times more and 6 times more powerful than regular CBD because of its enhanced bioavailability and cellular absorption. And that is only CBD and the extract of MCT because it is a fatty acid the body wants to go on and eat it up right away and get relief. And today, if you, by the end of today, midnight, you will get 20% off. I never discount my products, but you will get 20% off if you order by the end of this evening. And so feel free to just go over and I can put this link in there too. And Victoria will email it out to theevokebeauty.com/life and you'll see all of our products right there. And if you have any questions before you want to order, you can email me at cassieannk@gmail.com. And you can reply to that as well. From being on the webinar today, you will get all of my free guides. You'll get a terpene list. You'll get what's the difference between hemp oil and CBD oil, a dosing guide. All of those will be put into a Google link folder that has all of my basically aids for when I teach classes to different health professionals here in Minnesota. So those are my goodies. So yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yes. So most, and we kind of went through the slides, and I did have a piece in here for kids. I absolutely help my clients with their children. And specifically, we have a lot of kids being labeled with ADHD, sensory disorders, autism, etc. So, if we look at a child's lifestyle, let's look at our own lifestyles. They are constantly bombarded with dings and bings and school and pressure of homework. CBD is an incredible product for children. So, dosing for kids, I usually put them on our 300 or our 500. I have many kids on my 2000 and 1000 that are in more of the spectrum regions. But the parent is kind of helping them with that. And I also have many, many different practitioners that do a lot of muscle testing. And so they'll bring their kid in and then they'll be able to dose their child. So that's a really good idea as well. If you have somebody that does AK or applied kinesiology muscle testing, you can bring our product in and then get that validated on your dosing needs for your kid. But overall, for all of these different mind, quote unquote, mental health issues that we're dealing with, what I call brain on fire, it's basic information, is that it's going to homogenize and go in and bring homeostasis to that child so that they can calm their nervous system down and focus at school. So when my kids are using this, they're using it in the morning before they go to school. They're using it when they get home so that they can calm down and either get their homework done or what have you. And then they're using it again before they go to bed and go to sleep at night. And many of the kids, once they start using it, they say, I love it, Mom. Can I have some more of whatever that is? They notice a difference. So yeah, it's safe.
Okay, that's great. And then I'm trying to change this so that, well, you hit, I guess unless we need it, you can hit stop sharing. Okay, perfect. There we go. So my other question, someone else asked it, but I want to make sure we touch on this too, is like, what if somebody, I want everybody to buy from you, but what if somebody can't, or just if they're out and about and they're recommending that to other people, what do you suggest people do? Like, where should they go first? Because there's so many different products on, and everybody's like, oh, just go to Amazon. I'm like, oh, wait, no, don't do that. So what do you suggest?
As I speak, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this into the line because I just did an episode on my podcast. And if you guys are interested, I do have a podcast and I have a lot of different high-level docs that have come in to speak with me, and it's called the Awaken Beauty Podcast. But I will link this in the show notes. So this is a link to my latest article on CBD and Amazon and what to look for. And that will actually help you understand of how to shop other websites too, because what's happened is major players like Coke and Pepsi and a lot of high funding people have created these cohorts of a lot of money. They paid it for a really beautiful website and they have it just slammed with a lot of private label or less black market product. So again, you want to go back to those diagrams of how much hemp, cannabidiol, active diols are in the product. Is it not just hemp extract or hemp seed oil? Because that doesn't mean anything to me. And then the COA, which is going to be the certificate of analysis. And even if you walk into a health food store, they're even confused themselves because they've got 7 different brands on there and it's hard to know which one is best. So you got to lead with them and go, okay, I want organic. I want a COA and a test of analysis. You should go to their website before you purchase it and understand who the CEO is, and then make sure that it has the active diols in the product. Those are my 3 bright line things to look for.
Super helpful. Okay. Yeah, that really helps a lot. What was I going to say? Did you see that comment? So Rachel's asking, can you explain the difference between
endocannabinoids and phytocannabinoids? Absolutely. So the phytocannabinoids, remember that main team of 6? So there's over 200, over 100 different phytocannabinoids. And then our endocannabinoids are the AG2 and then the anandamide. So think of the anandamide like your bliss molecule. We called it that because it gives you that euphoria. Binds to the CB1 receptors, gets you high. And then the AG2 is going to be your other endocannabinoids. So we make those endogenous endocannabinoids in our body from our fatty acids. And then because we're so deficient, because remember that stress response with the enzymes and it shoots off the siren and it eats up all of the enzyme, eats up all of our own endocannabinoids, that's where the phytocannabinoids come in. And that's why we need consistent plant medicine from these phytonutrients so that we can keep our endocannabinoid tone balanced.
Yeah.
This is preventative medicine to me. This is not a funny game on the market. This is really serious preventative medicine for all of us, neurotransmitter wise, inflammation wise, and relaxing us because we're all bombarded with stress. I mean, this is the easiest thing. So, you can't shop by price. All of our products are made by price. I don't make a ton of money on my CBD because we formulate for precision and dosage and bioavailability. So cheap products out there, bright line, probably not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good point. Okay. Thanks for explaining that. And then anybody else have any questions in particular? I had one more. Let's see. I had kind of an interesting question. What if you're someone that is a producer, for example, like how can people trust or know, let's say, a lot of times like getting a third party verification or like showing, okay, for example, like you said, all the reports, sometimes it's like, how difficult is that process? Because what if somebody's starting out? It's kind of like in the food world, right? Where when you want to be organic, but you might not be able to afford that. So how does that work? That's a random question.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm here as I can help. So if you're looking at a product or if you have a product at home, just shoot me an email, cassieandk@gmail.com, and just say, hey, is this reputable? Is this legit?
Yeah.
How hard is it? It can be very hard because there's 1,001 websites out there of everybody trying to make money. But I really believe in the heart and the good of this industry. There's a lot of really good products out there as well. And so, you got to understand that there's just a lot of private label. You're going to see the same product, 300 milligrams of hemp and MCT.
Okay.
And so I really want to know what's in my product. What other components are in there? What terpenes? What dials? Are there minor cannabinoids? Well, which ones? Certificate of analysis is what you want to look at. And if you're out shopping, I like to go to the website and use your intuition. Who's the CEO? Where are they getting it from the farms? All of our hemp is certified organic. And in the US, there is no certified quality board that has a USDA hemp. Now, how do they get USDA on their product? What happens is they'll put in other components that are USDA organic or other herbs. And so then they can make a validated statement that it is scientifically studied to reduce sleep because they have other medicinals in there to
Okay.
validate the sleep, but it's not necessarily the CBD.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, that makes sense. And then my final question for you, if no one else has any other further questions, is what about who can people work with once, let's say they purchase your CBD, but like they're, who can they work with to help them figure out how to utilize it at home?
Well, so you can always reach out to me, but you're going to want to look in your local area. There are some CBD coaches out there. I'm a certified cannabis coach, and so I can kind of work with people that are both on hemp and on medical marijuana. And so sometimes if you want to reach out to a dispensary, sometimes they'll have different nurse affiliations that can help you, and they have a little bit more of an understanding of how hemp works in the body, and they have more of a higher level understanding. And if you're in a legal state, you can always walk into a shop and go and shop. And a lot of people know about THC and CBD because CBD helps take away the high. So dispensaries and places like that are also a good place to go in and shop.
Okay. Yeah, that's super helpful. I really think that helps a lot. And I guess and just so people can understand that, if you don't have a medical marijuana card because CBD doesn't, can they still go into shops and get, and get assistance? Is that okay?
I don't know about the medical marijuana necessarily, those spaces, if you go in and ask about CBD, but in Minnesota alone, we have CBD shops popping up all over the place. And hopefully, a place like that would be able to narrate you to the right product for you. But again, it's just going to referral, asking people you trust, people that are actually in the medical community that understand how the plant works with the body.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a, pray and spray product. It's not cheap. And so you really want to understand, what are you using it for? When do you want to take it? And what do you want it to help? So that you can get to your endpoint successfully versus trying something that didn't work and then just walking away. Because it works. It can work. You just have to play around with it.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. That was super, super helpful. Okay. Tracy said, should we be cautious with she said MN CBD pop-up shops as well as online?
Yeah. So Minnesota has a lot of different stores popping up. I'm finding a lot of them are carrying the same products. And what's happened in the CBD market, there's a lot of really, really good medicinal products out there. But whoever made it to the market first and had the shoe-in on distribution, Charlotte's Web, Joy, some of these, they had this distribution plummeted in. So these are the different products that you're going to find mostly on the market. It doesn't mean that they're the only. The CBD pop-up shops, I wish I had time to do pop-up shops, but I have a standalone business and an online business that we're rebranding right now, that we're getting it to work a little bit better for online. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're selling out there. I know in Minnesota, they just had like the CBD, like, trophy award, and it just looked like a bunch of guys with sweatshirts on. And to me, I really believe in sophistication, education. And so if they're able to educate you and show you and validate, pop-up shop, sure. But
Yeah.
you just have to use your intuition.
Yeah, that's a good question, because you're right. I mean, I'm in Texas, and it's like, it depends on where you are, it depends on your state. And that's a really good question, Tracy, because I feel like it is now the hot thing, but really people are starting to understand that can be used as preventative medicine. And I mean, but in so many different, it combats so many different other health issues. But the thing is like, how do you know? And they know that people don't really know. And so they're taking advantage a lot. I truly believe that. I mean,
here's a really, really good thing to keep in mind. They have busted many, many companies for taking COAs and erasing and whiting out and printing in their own data, GMP certified. A lot of people are playing nutty business out there. And so again, some of these smaller companies that don't have a product for everything and every ailment and make claims, you just have to really use your intuition. But even people that validate some things sometimes aren't completely honest. So roadside CBD sold here, signs are suspicious. Yes. And that's why I say the market is quite annoying right now, because your shoe store should not be selling you CBD.
That is so true. And then I want to ask one final thing before we close is, what's your favorite way to take CBD? How do you like to take it? Do you like to do, capsule, gel, topical, sublingual? What do you like to do?
Good question. So my go-to is going to be sublingual and topical. So every time I go to bed, about an hour before, I'm going to take my 1000. I just really love the 1000. I do really well with it at night. Busy mind, busy entrepreneur, 4 different businesses, as well as topical. So we have a really, really beautiful jar that's a CBD balm. So we really put in a high amount of full spectrum CBD. And so we use a 1000 milligrams in our 2 ounce and our 4 ounce and our 8 ounce. So we have a body oil and a balm. What's incredible about this is that you have all of these bidirectionals in the skin. It's going to calm down even just the body. I take it with me when I get a massage, and it is so euphorically relaxing. So I put it on my jaws at night, because sometimes I get TMJ because I'm doing Invisalign. Calms down my face, my neck. So every night with our lavender and full spectrum CBD, I lace my neck, my calm, and my temples, as well as my tincture, and I sleep like a baby when I have it on. And if I'm at work and I'm stressed, I just go and pop some, and I'm good to go. Many clients in the middle of the night, if they're waking up in the middle of the night, go take an extra dose of CBD and CBG blend with our 1000. It's great to put you right back to bed.
Awesome. Okay. Yes, it does sound, Jamie, sounds fantastic. Yes. Yeah. So, well, perfect. It was really fun, like, having you on, and thank you guys and those that are watching the replay, like, for bearing with us with our tech stuff. And it always happens, even when we prepare. Kassandra and I have been preparing for a couple weeks, but it happens. So I loved it. You have such a wealth of knowledge and information. And just so you guys know, I will be consistently, if you're asking where to get it, like, I will link to her products consistently, because I really believe in quality of any supplement on the market. And so my goal is to keep educating people and to get her name out there too. So if you guys want to share, just not even the discount code, but what she does, who she is, her products, all of that, please do, because we need more people like her out there in the front lines versus everybody else that you just run across, like she was saying. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Victoria. Thank you so much for having me on. Again, just go ahead and go over to Evoke Beauty, evoqbeauty.com. 20% off till tonight, and then 10% after that. You've got the link in the code. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for taking the time to learn about your healthy endocannabinoid system.
Yes. Okay. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.